Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag, your weekly podcast reviewing games with the Game Pass collection. Bring you three new perspectives, varying skill range. I am the David Copperfield of this episode. Andrew, with me are Merlin, Keith,
Hello.
and with us are Hermione, Liz.
Hey guys.
That was the only female magician I could think of. And this week I picked the game. I picked Immortals of Aveum by Ascendant Studios. The just about dead Ascendant Studios, unfortunately, because of this game. Immortals of Aveum is a first-person magician spell shooter where you are playing a character in a war that is nonstop going in a fantasy land called Aveum. And there is a special team in this world called the Immortals, which is supposed to be like, I don't know, the Avengers, I guess, the police force. But you discovered some hidden magical powers that you didn't know you had, of course, and you join the Immortals to help fight the war and try to right the wrong that's going on in this world. But going around, I'm going to go last with this.
I know I want to go last on this one.
Okay, fine.
Well, Andrew just wants to go on a tangent.
No, yeah. I will go first then. Okay, so Worlds of Avian. I heard a lot of good things about this game, so I was like, I really want to check this game out. It always looked really cool. It is a game.
What?
It's still a game. I still had a lot of fun with it. I hated this game's story. Do not play this game.
I have only heard such vile negative things about this game from you that shocked me.
About the story is bad.
I know, but it's been a lot of tangents about it.
I hated the story so much. So do not play this game for the story, but play it for the gameplay. The gameplay is actually pretty fun. It could have been better, but yes. Game. Go Liz, because Keith wants to go last.
So the first couple hours that I played, sorry, I should repeat that. I laughed during that. The first couple hours that I played, I was like, this is a definite game. And I still think it's definitely a game, but I don't know if it's a definite game or just a game. But yeah, the gameplay was so fun. I mean, I love to loot. I love upgrading weapons and it's not really weapons. It's magic. Different things.
You can upgrade your weapons.
They are kind of yeah. And you have different spells that you can cast, and there's so much that you can do with combat that I just thought it was some fun. So yeah, it's a game for me.
Fun.
Go ahead, Keith.
You know, I came prepared to fight tonight because when I talked to you last about this, at least you were like, oh, Liz is loving this. She's all in on this, and you seemed all jazzed up about it. I was like, ah, it's gonna be me again. I'm gonna be the Sour Patch in this one, but I'm actually right about with you, Andrew. I don't really have a lot of negative things to say about the overall gameplay. Yes, I gloss over a lot of story things, but I did try to watch at least some of the cutscenes. Brief overview. I think the overall voice acting is fine, but the dialogue is so annoying.
There's a lot of dialogue on things where I'm just like, what is this?
Are you talking the writing?
Yes.
Okay.
The writing is really bad.
It's terrible.
I'll get into it in the story. I got some moments. I wrote them down in my notebook.
I wish I had.
You're
done
ready.
That. The overall gameplay is fine, and I think you even said it best. There is so much more I think I could have wanted from this. We often talk about games that do a little bit of everything, but they do them well. This tries to do. Well, maybe not even a little bit of everything, but it tries to throw a little bit of puzzling at you, but it's really just three colors that you have to hit in sequence, and sometimes with some time. It's not really a puzzle, but they try to make it feel like it is, and it's not great. And then the game fighting it's fine, but it's not great. So anywho, yeah, it is a game, but there's nothing to write home about. This is one that'll just it might not even end up on an end of year honorable mention. Honestly, it might be forgotten by December.
Maybe not for graphics.
Maybe we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right, so let's get to the story here. So as I said, the story is you were playing this character named Jack. He lives in the slums. He lives in a place called the Underbridge, which is literally this shanty town that's built under a bridge. It's suspended too, because whatever reason, I don't know who thought this was a good idea. There's important key point I got to remember here. In the center, this world is kind of a flat circle, and in the center is a gaping hole that's opening wider and wider. It's called the wound, and it just keeps getting bigger. Nobody knows where it goes. It's just kind of this infinite abyss. And I don't know who had the bright idea, but they're like, hey, let's build a shanty town under a bridge over this gaping abyss. That's a great spot for a town. So that's where you live, is in the underbridge. And your characters are poor. You're trying to pickpocket just to make ends meet. But one of your town gets attacked because I don't know, the army really hated a shanty town under a bridge. They didn't even attack the bridge. They attacked the city under the bridge. I don't know. It's I'm sorry, I'm already getting to some of my plot holes of this. But anyway, one of your friends dies. And when I mean dies, I mean she falls into a cloud and you don't actually see her die, but you get angry and then you wake up and realize that you have this magical power, because there's two types of people in this world: people with magic, people without magic. And you thought you were a person without magic, but nope. You actually have
original.
all the
No
magic
story
you
has
have now.
ever been where there's people with magic and people without.
Yeah, and a friend dies and your power is just all of a sudden awakened and you destroy everyone.
I've never heard this story before. Please go on.
I mean, okay, I don't. That's about it. That's all you kind of need to know. You know, there's this war going on, and so you want to join the best of the best. You want to join the elite team, which is called the Immortals. Which like I said, this also got me excited. I'm like, oh, cool. Is this like the Avengers, but with magic? Not really. We'll get into that.
Do we have to wait till the end for spoilers, or can I just ask you and you can edit it out of the episode, and Curtis and Javier just get a treat here?
That's
how you inherit your magic.
Curtis and I Discord. That's good. I'm surprised your uncle didn't die and leave you a farm. That's honestly about as original as this plot is. Okay,
but the new game plus.
That's about okay. I'm not going to say too much more of this story. Like, well, that's about the synopsis you're going to get from me. So
I just want to say that when it comes to story, I didn't get as far as you. But my biggest complaint of the game, not just the story, the entire game is the main character. And I think it's funny that with all of the stuff that you're going to talk about, like this probably isn't even in your like top 20 of annoying things. I really dislike when whether it's a TV show or a video game, they have just the worst main character, like Scrubs, you know, like JD was the pits.
Oh, the show Scrubs. Oh.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It took me a second.
Like there's so many shows and movies where like the protagonist is just awful, and this is like a prime example. You have this guy who's super cowardly, doesn't want to help even though he just saw people that he knows being massacred and stuff. And then he decides like, oh, I guess I have the magic. I need to join up. And then he's like, why don't I want to be a soldier? Can I just be like the top guy? Can you imagine going to like into the military and be like, I'm not really into like the soldier.
Can I just be a general?
Yeah. Can I just like lead the army? And he's just like the most arrogant, cowardly little turd.
Which the funny thing too about that, at that point, your character is 15, 16. So
that's it?
Yeah. Because remember, you in the story, you can only join the army if you're 16. So your friend, it's her birthday. She's just turning 16. So that's why she was joining the military.
I was curious about that because
I think you're younger than her. So yeah, you're probably like 15.
Yeah, because you have to join, right? No, but he told her to be to just run.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
everyone he wanted her. Yeah, and so he was trying to get her to flee so she wouldn't have to join the army. And it's just like, you know, your friend is trying to do something like for the greater good, and you're just like, nah. I mean, that just doesn't sound right.
Well, I mean,
how does his character not like?
Because there's more plot holes in this game than Swiss cheese.
Oh, give me plot holes over a crappy character. Oh, he's the worst.
I feel like he's part of the plot holes, though.
Yes. Don't get me wrong. He's just another hole in that cheese. But Keith, what was the spoiler you wanted to ask?
Stinkiest one.
Your friend is the bad guy, right?
Oh, 100%. Like
it's like not even a secret. Like
even I knew.
I wasn't even going to edit. This game's as subtle as a fart in a funeral. Like the fact that your friend gets shot off a bridge, and you don't see her die. You see her fall in smoke, and you're just like, no, she's dead. And it's like, no, she's not. You did not see her die. She's not dead.
Even I
And
called
then,
it.
yeah, and then literally next scene, ooh, there's a bad guy, and she's clearly female. Ooh, and she has a mask. Who could this be? And it's just like, come on, game. Like, who do you think you're fooling?
Well, they like double down on it when you meet
Yeah.
the bad guy for the first time, and he clearly is like, "Oh, I'm basically one of you. You guys, we just don't see eye to eye, but we all want the same thing." Like, oh, and your friend was the one who wants the war, so naturally she sided with you, and you're siding with. Okay.
No, okay. No, well, trust me, it gets worse. Like literally every time as this game went and the cutscenes kept going, I just kept shaking my head, and I kept being like, "What is this?" Like, because that's the thing. When you find out it's your friend, she's like, "Don't ask me. Don't ask the questions you don't want to hear." And you're like, "What question?" And she's like, "You know a question." He's like, "Why did you leave me?" And she's like, "That's the question." And do you want to know what the answer is? I'm not going to tell you. It's real dumb.
I thought you died.
No, it's dumber than that. It literally is just like she literally got captured and she went, "No, okay, I'm joining you guys now." That was literally the explanation. This evil army literally killed her friends. It murdered her children friends in front of her. And she went, "Yeah, I'll join you guys." That was literally the explanation the game gave you.
Which honestly, mine is a point when kids die in games. It happens all the time.
Yeah. Oh,
they set that up though, like I said, where she's the one who wants to go to the war and all of that. So it was like it in a sense, I'll give them. It's not good writing; it's logical writing.
No,
they at least set her up to go. I don't know, because she was going to abandon her family to go and die in the war anyways, so it didn't really matter.
Well, that's the thing.
At least now she was offered power.
Because like everyone that doesn't have magic, they go into the army and they're like instantly slaughtered.
Yeah, they're literally meant to be. Yeah, they use melee weapons. So it's like
I could see why she would want the war just to be over, like that. Not that I would agree with it, but I could see like how she would talk about something like that. But just to be like, nah, I was captured. Yeah, that's wild.
It was so dumb. It was literally like a 10-second cutscene, like explaining it. Okay, I haven't gotten to the end. I literally maybe an hour left, but I highly doubt this game is going to answer a lot of questions I have.
Did you Google it? Did you Google the ending?
No, not yet. No, because I was hoping to beat it before this podcast. But it's just okay. So at first, I gotta say, with the story, I was like, okay, I'm actually getting into this. Like, they did a lot of world building, which at first I dig a game with world building. I love
slow paced.
It's very slow paced, but I'm like, okay, this game I think was supposed to be a new IP. I think they wanted it to be a trilogy. It was supposed to be way more expansive. So I think that's what that's what I was getting. I was like, okay, they're really setting the building blocks down. But already right off the bat, one thing that irritates me with this game is word soup. Literally, it is just jargon. Here is Avaralions with the Exolatians and the Blippity Blorps, and I'm like, what is a nation? What's a person? I don't know what they're saying to me.
Well, you get a lot of letters and stuff, and do you have like an inventory of like what you're coming across?
And I read a good amount of them, and it did nothing for me. Like, don't get me wrong, I was at least kind of following, but there were so many times I just wanted to take a picture of the cutscene of someone talking. And I wanted to ask people like, what is a noun? What's a verb? What's like a pronoun? Because it's just word soup. It's just constant, just just garbles all over the place.
Well, if we're on dialogue and writing too, this does another one of my biggest pet peeves where it's a fantasy world. So language can really be whatever it wants to be.
Yeah.
But it is so sarcastic and jokey, but heavily serious. It doesn't know what it wants to be. The excessive cursing, not necessarily for shock value, but like the way a 12-year-old swears to sound cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's
like, I didn't know it was cursing.
Oh, it's all throughout, and it's just in the worst. Like someone randomly uses, pardon, this is going to make us more than PG-13, but I'll say buckos is what I'll say, but with an F. And I was like, what a weird phrase. Like,
yeah, the swearing was always random. Like it was never consistent, but randomly to be an F-bomb. And it's like, okay.
not to insult our 12-year-old listeners, you're all fine. You just don't know how to use the language properly yet. You'll get there.
Yeah. Okay. Like I had another dialogue option. Okay. So the main bad guy, Sandrax, he's essentially like Hitler. He is literally murdering and burning people at the stake. This guy is like a tyrant. Okay. And he keeps insulting you. He calls you a yapping pup. And so you're like, you talk to one of the characters, you're like, I need to come up with an insult for him. And so you literally go through these dialogue choices. I landed on, in which all the dialogue choices are like geriatric, old, or senile. And then so you pick one of those. I picked geriatric. And then the next word is like blowhard, buffoon, and something else, something also childish. So I said blowhard. So I called him a geriatric blowhard. And my character goes, no, that's a little mean. How about I just say STFU? And it's like, what? You're literally talking to like Hitler and you're like, you're a geriatric blowhard. No, that's too bad of an insult.
I would have picked the same options, by the way.
I thought it was kind of funny because I was really hoping he'd
Yeah.
say geriatric blowhard. But no, he goes, that's too mean. It's like, you're talking to the guy who's Hitler. Geriatric blowhard's way too mean. It's so weird.
That's mean to like an elderly person who like
on the
can't
street.
reach up. Yeah,
Yeah.
who's like trying to reach up for the rice on the shelf and can't get it. And you're like,
No,
yeah, Jerry,
not a guy who murders people.
call him a lot worse.
It's like, what is this writing? All right, here's some of my plot holes that made no sense. So they don't give you any context about who your character is. Just you get a little glimpse of like your past. One day you wake up and you're like, hey, I'm poor and I meet my friend Luna. Can I join your gang? And she goes, sure. That's it. So it's like, okay, like how long have you known this girl? Like you just randomly were like, yeah, I'm poor. Okay. And you meet her. And eventually you guys get a house. And the game explains it. You know, it's not just a house. She buys a factory. This building is massive. Okay. You got to keep in mind, you're so poor, you can't afford food. But she buys a factory and your character goes, you bought a house? How'd you do that? She goes, I wanted a house, so I bought one. What? You're so poor you can't afford food, but she can buy a factory? Like, that makes no sense. And then, oh yeah, so there's portals everywhere. This is how you fast travel. This is how anyone fast travels. You have to take a portal. Apparently not the enemies. The enemies can just portal anywhere. And there's moments where the enemies have to use a portal. Then there's other moments where the enemies can just portal out of thin air. The game doesn't explain it. It doesn't follow its own rules with the portals. There's one point where your guys try to set up an ambush. They're like, oh, he's going to go through that portal and we're going to blow it up so he can't escape. Well, guess what? He just portals wherever he wants to. And it's just like, what? This makes no sense. Why are like some people portaling and some people can't? Also, too, some people can fly. They don't explain it. Just the bad guy just decides to fly one time. And it's just like, what? Like no one else is flying. How does this guy get to fly? And then also too, during the cutscenes, sometimes people's magic, they get shot once, they're dead. Other times it ricochets off their armor. Like no explanation for it. Just like the guy's just walking and you're shooting and it's just repelling off him like during a cutscene. And it's like, why does no one's shots work? And sometimes they don't. No explanation for it. There's just, oh my gosh. Then there was another woman. So as I said, there's 5 countries in this world. And apparently one country is exploded. It's gone. It's literally tiny little islands. And your character has no idea about this. He's like, there's a country that's gone. It's like, I'm sorry. I know you're in the slums, but I think you would hear that an entire country exploded. And your character just plays it off like, oh, I never heard about this. What happened here? There's just so many dialogue options in this game. And there's way more I had that gets into spoilers, but I want to spoil this game. But just, okay, I need to stop ranting because this probably is not good listening.
So
This story irritated me.
You mentioned like the bad guy teleporting in and out of places. Are you talking about, at least in particular, where you guys are like going to meet with him and you try to ambush him?
Yes,
and
that
you
was the
think
scene.
like you're.
Yeah.
I think going into it, I was like, oh, you got him, guys.
Yeah.
You got him because this guy is, got a massive army behind him that can destroy you at a moment's notice, basically. And,
Yeah.
and he has this powerful magic that he's acquired.
In which your boss's response was, let's see if that power really works. Like, she's like, he has a nuclear bomb. Let's see if it actually works. Like, who does that?
And it won't affect him because it's magic? Yeah, we're good. that was some nonsense. The whole thing. The dialogue though is I was like, will these people just shut their pie holes?
Oh,
Golly.
okay. One more thing that really irritated me. Do you remember the character Orphe? She's like she's one of the immortals. She's a
yeah.
seer. And I'm like, oh, cool. It's a blind seer. This character is clearly going to be the character that, hey, I'm going to give you the information to where to go for your next mission. No, you literally meet her at the beginning and she is gone. It's like there's so many times where they're like, we need to find the structure. This is very important to our mission. It's like, wouldn't you contact the seer? Hey, seer, we need to find this important thing. I thought for sure they made this character specifically to help segue you into missions, but they never use her.
Everything's all jumbled for her.
But she still sees things. Like, and yeah, it is jumbled for her, but she can still piece it together and give clues.
Well, I thought there was one character that you didn't think really fit, Devin.
Yeah.
Because
sorry. Well, no. Oh, this will fight you, Keith. Careful.
No, I love Devin. The thing is, I think a lot of these characters had potential and they just they didn't put enough into them.
Yeah.
Like, I thought like Devin was funny. He seemed nice. I really liked him. He was like the side character that I was hoping would be like the funny one. But they didn't do much with him. Same with Zendara. Like, I thought she was like a racist at the beginning. And she just like, she never really, well, no, she gave a compliment once.
Yeah.
But and then Hauser, the assassin.
Yep.
Something was going on with that guy. I want to know more about that.
Nope.
But I felt like I put in quite a few hours and things weren't progressing with those characters.
Yeah.
And even like Kirkin, like she's, the boss, but I still thought that they like the relationships would build and stuff. And I don't think that they really did.
It's funny because before this episode, Liz was like asking me like, oh, what happened to this person? She said, yeah, what happened to Hauser? I'm like, who's Hauser? She's like, the weird sketchy guy. And I'm like, that's not opening any.
I know he kind of reminded me of like David Bowie or something.
Yeah, no, he kind of looks like David Bowie.
Yeah, he kind of does.
But yeah, they do nothing with him.
Devin clearly is supposed to be some sort of comedic relief, but he's just annoying.
Which is weird because they keep talking about how he's the oldest like immortal. He is so good at fighting. He knows how to kill people. Yet he's super goofy. Yeah.
You'd think it would drag a person's spirit down, seeing all that death and destruction.
It even says, I'm really good at war, but you never really see him fight. This is all right. So getting into gameplay, this is the thing that most irritated me about gameplay. Like I said, there actually is good things about this game, but I'm just going to say the one thing that really irritated me with the gameplay. You almost never fight with anyone. You are brand new to the Immortals, and there's a lot of missions where they're like, hey, you're going with so-and-so. As soon as you land in that area, the person goes, well, see ya. You're on your own, and just leaves. And I'm like, this is lame. Like the opening cutscene, the game has like this like montage of the characters and even like a cool cutscene. And like, it looks like, oh, like I said, it feels like this is supposed to be like the Avengers. Like you guys are fighting as a cool team. No, you're almost always by yourself. People just go, well, bye, and just leave you. That's the new guy.
That too.
That irritated me. If I got to fight with people and felt like a team, this game would have been way better.
You do fight with the robot.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong.
And
you
that
fight
was
with him every
helpful.
once in a while.
Yeah,
every once in a while, but not.
But he doesn't really chat with you and have banter and stuff to make the traveling. Because I mean, have you do have the portals later on, but you do a fair amount of walking.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe this is any fast travel thing in a game, but like. Yeah. You have these ley lines, and then you have the portals. But if the portals exist, why do I need the ley lines?
in context of this game, yes, why would they just build more portals instead of doing these ley lines? I agree with you, Keith. But hey, in the gameplay though, okay, as I said, you don't play this game for the story, play it for the gameplay. And the gameplay is pretty fun. I will say, seeing the trailers, I was hoping it to be a little more faster pace. Like when I first saw it, I was thinking it was going to be a little bit more like Doom, where it's like, oh, you need to switch to these certain things to hit weak points, and it's going to be a lot more fluid. It's not. It can be pretty fluid, but overall, you have 3 different types of classes of spells. You have blue, green, and red. Blue is kind of your long range. There's 3 variations between each of the colors as well. So blue, as I said, is mostly long range. You can either have it be a sniper, more like a 3-shot rifle, or kind of a quicker 8-round, like medium range gun. Your red weapon is like your shotgun. It's meant to be close ranged, or it could also have an explosive to be kind of like a grenade launcher, but that's meant to be kind of your close range. And then the green is meant to be like a homing SMG, fast, high rate of fire, but lower damage. It can, cause decay. So those are kind of the 3 different classes you have. And, you obviously are fighting enemies that are susceptible to either certain colors. And you do have some trinkets. I kind of said that weird, to like zip around, the battlefield. But I played on, I think there's 5 difficulties. I played the one right under the hardest. So it was like second hardest. I did not,
or something.
I didn't find this game too difficult. So if you're an achievement hunter, I'm already going to give you this tip. Just play on the hardest difficulty. I think when it came to actual story, I maybe died twice. The only times I usually died when I was doing side stuff. That stuff was actually hard, but I didn't find this game too difficult. But yeah, I thought the spells were fun, and the gameplay was actually pretty solid.
One thing that I had trouble, before I get into this, is Daisy picking up on the? She's snoring real loud next to me.
No, not I can't hear the
there
dog.
might be some dog snoring. I sometimes didn't. Not sometimes. I never knew if I had enough power to do some of the spells. So I thought it was like it wasn't the mana in the bottom right corner,
mana's
right?
bottom right corner, yeah.
It was, because sometimes it was full, and I was like, oh, I can't do that spell, but I could do a different one.
Because they also have cooldowns.
Yeah.
So yes, Liz made a point. You do have a mana bar. Those are specific, like high damage spells. So most of your weapons have unlimited ammo. You just got to reload them. But if you're doing a heavy spell, so you have one where it shoots like a tremor under the ground and shoots spikes in the air. You have another one that shoots like heavy homing missiles. Another one is like a flaming punch. Those cost mana, which, you have to consume a crystal to reload. But yeah, those are like the heavy hitting ones.
Which I love them, because they had the ones for the shields. They had ones for a lot of enemies. They had one specifically if you're going against a boss or something. And which I loved fighting the boss that had the glowy bits, and you had to change your weapon for it. So like there was like the blue glowy bits.
Oh, I forgot about
the
it.
construct.
Yeah, it was a construct. Yeah.
Yeah.
The glowy bits.
Do you know what? Because there's so many boss fights like that, and I instantly knew like what was going to happen and stuff, which you might not have liked, but I did. But gameplay wise, I know we're in the combat right now, but I loved like finding the hidden treasure. Like there were some times where I would just like, I was like, I feel like there's something behind that. And there was. And one time when I was playing, you said, oh, I didn't go to that area. And I was like, yes.
Yeah, this game is also kind of open world. Like there's an in-between area between each region that you can kind of explore. And there's loot. You can get upgraded spells and guns. So you always kind of want to loot. So.
And then you told me that if you shoot the little glowy things.
The wisps.
Yeah. If you shoot them, like you get something. Every time I shot one, enemies came, and you were like, it must be a coincidence, but it was every time. I only shot them probably like 3 or 4 times, but I was like, every single time enemies appeared.
It's a coincidence.
It is. I mean, I believe you.
So you mentioned indirectly probably one of my biggest gripes, and maybe it kind of ties to the story and the writing a little bit, and it's such a stupid thing, but this is magic we're dealing with, and their magic powers are red, blue, and green. Rip the dang band-aid off. You're already going on original. Just call them the elements that you're trying to base it on. Blue is some sort of wind, water type of thing. Your green is, plant, hence the healing, poison damage. Red is fire. Just call them what they are. Don't beat around it. It's so stupid. And that's my blue magic. Like, grow up. So that annoyed me. And so, like, I don't know, you talk about, like, you get upgraded spells, and, like, you do, but they're really more powerful. That's it. There's 9 overall.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, the differences between the blue ones, 2 of them are basically the same, just shot a little faster, a little slower. The green ones, same, how quickly they shot, and the animation was a little bit different. The shape of your Falcon punch was a little bit different, but it was a shotgun blast, and it was different shape, but it really, you couldn't tell because it was just a big of red in front of you, and you hoped you hit the enemy. That was it. So no, I don't think that the weapons and spells were original in any way. The big spells were kind of cool because they had a special animation, but that was, I think, one of my biggest disappointments was the actual lack of any real feeling of difference in the weapons. I would just float through them, and it didn't really seem to matter. Yes, you had the ones you occasionally had to break the shield, but I still don't quite know. Did you have to match color for color, or
Yeah, you did.
Okay, because otherwise I was like, I don't know. If it wasn't dying with that one, I'd just go to the next one. Because I think I just played on the normal difficulty. I just went, whatever, I'll play on that. And I died a handful of times. I'm not gonna act like I never died, but I was never at a point. I think the most frustrating point I had in the game was a platforming section that I had to go through, and that was probably the most annoyed I got at the gameplay in terms of frustration levels.
I felt like there was more platforming than there was combat in this game. That's another thing that I wish there was more
That could have been
combat.
fine if they did a better job with platforming. It was just mediocre at best.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah. What always irritated me with the platforming is that you don't mantle. So many times where I'm like yelling at my character, like, just grab the ledge. He just falls down.
It took so long to get the grapple.
It did.
It was a solid like 4 hours into the game before you could do it, and it felt like forever. And that was like I mentioned, the pacing of the gameplay felt so long. Like by the time I got out of training, I was like, have I been playing this game for like 2 hours already? Because it felt like it. Sorry, Liz.
You guys are just like so nitpicky with this game.
Andrew got me fired up, and now I'm just like I'm on the train.
I did see something Andrew was doing that I would have found very frustrating. So you got an ability I don't have right now, but you were trying to line up with like the orb things, but like with the camera view and everything, it wasn't working. It was very poorly designed.
I'm trying not to sound more negative about this game. Like I said, in general, the thing I just mostly hate about this game is the story, but it is unfortunately bleeding into my review of other things. So yeah, Liz is describing, eventually you get a like laser beam, and you can hit an orb and like turn it into different colors. You can refract the beam. And so that's kind of a puzzle you start to get, is where you need to refract beams to hit these certain points to open a door. And there was a couple puzzles where it was just so finicky. I knew how to solve the puzzle. It was just so particular on where on the orb I had to shoot my beam for the beam to refract, to bounce off a lens, off another lens. And it was getting frustrating. I was like, who designed this one? This is a really bad puzzle. I do agree with you, Keith, where like some of the weapons didn't really feel too different. You know, for the most part, when you're just getting a bigger number upgrade. So it's not like, oh, now my thing is doing really weird different things. Now there's just 3 different variations. So the loot you're getting is just bigger numbers, which is, it's fine.
I understand like the whole crafting aspect, because every time I went to craft something, it was the level that I was at or less.
Yeah.
And so for me, like
then you had to upgrade it to get it higher than
No, I did, but
Okay.
whenever I came to crafting, I could never craft something like way better or special or unique. It was just like I just had to keep upgrading it.
Yeah, which is what I hate when a game does that for loot.
Yeah.
When it's like, oh yeah, you can upgrade your loot, but we're stopping you. You can't get loot that's too strong. We're gonna hold you back.
I
And
mean,
it's
some
like,
of
what's the
the
point of
loot,
it?
like you'd get like what do they call the bracers and stuff.
Yeah.
It would always be in the special chest. It would always be nice to get those. But yeah, I just thought that with the upgrading and stuff, it could have been a bit better. I didn't really feel a difference.
Those numbers in the upper left corner were 100% arbitrary because they were the same for everything. Your common was what, like 5, 7, and then it went to 9, 12, or 9, 16, and then there was 3. And I guess I'm going to take a real solid guess here that the legendary items, I didn't get one, had 4 upgrades.
Yep. You solved it, Keith.
I'm blown away. I'm just, I don't know. I like you said, I don't mean to sound negative. It's just there's just so like nothing to the game. I think I I think I'm just so lukewarm on it that I'm trying to be something, and the only thing I can be is negative.
That's kind of like how I am too. Because like to me, there's a lot of good in it. Like the bones of this game are good. Like already right off the bat, what I think would have been better is if this game had co-op and you could do things like mix your magic. Like, oh, like I'll shoot red, you shoot green. If we mix it together, like it creates a different kind of spell. Like that was for me. Like I said, what irritated me is that I wasn't playing with the AI either. Like I was just a soldier on my own. They're just like, stop, you're gonna fight a war by yourself. Have fun. Which,
You're a
oh my gosh.
Treyarch. They make sure you talk about that all the time.
The other thing that always kind of made me laugh is the war is called the Ever War, as in it goes on forever. I'm assuming is why they call it the Ever War, which to me, I'm like, that's really dumb. It's like asking the French or the English, hey, are you going to fight off in the 100-Year War? Like, you don't name a war until like after it's kind of done. And the fact that you're calling it like the Ever War because it goes on forever, it's like, that's a dumb name. Every time they said it, I'm just like, God, that's so goofy.
I also
How many generations does a... go ahead, Liz.
No, go ahead. It's off topic.
I was just saying, how many generations does war have to continue for it to feel like forever, though?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, let's go ahead.
I already forgot what I was saying. Oh, I remember. I thought it was also really interesting. The main character, Jack, he doesn't listen to any of his superiors.
Oh.
So they're like, whatever, like, do not go there. Like, wait for me. What does he do? He goes anyway. He never gets in trouble ever. And that's why I'm like, just like, if it's a military thing, like, I feel like it's very important to follow commands, you know? But I want to touch on something that I do think is really good with the game. I love how linear it is, because that's something that I didn't like with the last game. And so like there's this little like circle icon, except for like the glitch bit that you had.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a little like circle and you know which direction to go. So when you want to go and loot, you know, well, that's the way I'm supposed to go. So I need to go right or left. And that's why like it was so fun to loot, because I knew I wasn't really missing anything. Oh, I'm sure I missed things, but and especially because like there are a lot of areas that you have to go back to that have like little lock symbols and stuff, and which I didn't really do.
Yeah, it's a little Metroidvania where you'll be in an area and there's some stuff you can't get. You got to get a new ability, which was nice. Your character would say, "Hey, I don't have a spell for this puzzle yet." So it's like, "Oh, okay." So that was kind of nice, where you know, like, "Oh, I'm supposed to come back here when I get a different skill."
You said something nice about it.
I said the combat was fun. Don't be saying that.
You said two things that are nice about it.
Like I said, it's just for me, like the story is like a 2 out of 10. I really hated the story.
But you know what? There is a lot of the story though. So for me, it's like I do love a game with a lot of story. And I felt like, I know Keith, I think, disagrees with this, but I actually liked the pacing of gameplay versus dialogue and cutscenes and all of that. So for me, like, I actually did like the setup of it. I do like the stuff that you said happens later in the game, which you didn't say because, you know, spoilers.
Yeah.
That was the stuff that I was just like, that is a terrible idea. That is awful. I'm kind of glad that I haven't gotten there. And also I think too, like things that happen kind of prove my point that Jack's the worst.
Yeah.
I was right all along.
Were you about to say something, Keith? You look like you're struggling.
No, I mean, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it probably was negative.
So I do kind of agree with you, Keith, when you said earlier, the platforming can be kind of iffy. There's moments of it where I was enjoying it, where I'm like, all right, this is actually kind of cool platforming. You get a hover ability. As you said, it took too long to get the it's essentially like you have it at first right away. It's like a whip, but you can't use it for the environment. It isn't till a while till you can actually use it on the environment. That took way too long because it's a fun ability and it's just kind of like, come on, why can't I do this? But
I don't think I got to that yet.
No, you haven't. That's what Keith said. It took like 10 hours to get it. It took a very long time. Which, by the way, time to beat for this game. It's not crazy long, but it's pretty hefty for a single player game. You're looking about 15 to 20 hours. So yeah, it was just kind of a while till you got like some of the more fun abilities. But I'm already getting in it for one thing with the gameplay. This game actually is really not good for xCloud. I do not recommend this for xCloud. We'll get into it with the graphics, but some of the enemies, even when I was playing on my TV, are kind of hard to see. And then if you're playing on xCloud on your phone, it's really hard to see them. Like, I would just kind of blast in a general way. I used my green magic a good amount because they would home a little bit. So I'm like, I think there's an enemy in this area. I'll just blast this area and maybe the balls will home on him and kill him for me. But I didn't care for it. And then also too, you have to select your weapons using the D-pad. And that was real finicky when it came to the xCloud. And I was getting weird glitches, input glitches on the xCloud where I would press and shoot, but as soon as I let go of the trigger, my gun was still shooting. And then sometimes too, I'd hit the trigger and my gun wouldn't shoot. But my jump and other abilities were working, but it just wouldn't shoot. So this is definitely, I wouldn't recommend this game for xCloud.
Well, it does do well with quick resume though. So I installed it and I played all of it on there, and it always picked up like exactly where. I mean, and I know that that's the point of quick resume. So good job me. I'm explaining quick resume, but like some games, I don't know, don't always pick you up. I feel like quite as well as it does with this. That said, I ran into at least 3 or 4 times where the game just straight up froze on me, essentially, and I had to quit out and just restart. Never really lost more than maybe 5 minutes worth of gameplay, so it wasn't too bad. But it was just weird points, and one of them was like a conversation I was having with Zendara, and I chose a dialogue option, and she just sat there and she moved. So she was moving like she was talking to me, but she never said a word. And 2 minutes plus went by and nothing happened.
Knock on wood, but I really haven't been having a lot of bugs lately.
You're the queen of bugs.
Was this the game? Yeah. I can't believe I'm gonna I don't know if it was this game or not. But you showed me a clip.
Yeah.
And yeah, the person like walks in and then walks out in the back.
That was the one cutscene that actually legitimately made me laugh. I actually snipped it. You're in the middle of being yelled at, and like it's like a full-blown argument, and you just see Devin in the background start to enter the room, and then you see she being yelled at, just turns around and leaves. The door closes behind him.
He's the best.
It's like super subtle. You do not notice it. And like I just noticed it. It just that actually gave me a good chuckle.
It's like they were trying to write real people, but it's like they got AI to write human people.
That's actually probably a pretty good description.
And I'm not even saying that they got actual AI, but yeah, it's just it's like a robot tried to watch, The Office and then write a fantasy gameplay based on it.
I see. It's so weird. Like Curtis is saying, this doesn't sound like a game. I know. I'm sorry, Curtis. I'm trying not to be so negative. It's just
well, take it from me, Curtis. There is nothing wrong with ignoring the storyline and the dialogue of a game. I actually, I'll even admit that I took one for the team and I watched most of what it was, and I didn't even quick skip through a lot of the dialogue. I actually read a good chunk of it, but I'll tell you, it's all skippable. It's all skippable. So just do that and get to the gameplay, and then the gameplay is fine. But I don't know, like if you're really into a game, I don't know if there's a lot of games that be like, you got to put it down for this gameplay still.
Like when I first started playing this, I was going to give this a definite game. I was having a lot of fun with it. It's just the fact that the story was so bad, and just like as the game kept going on, the story got worse. And I'm just like, because so many times we're like, oh, maybe the game will redeem itself. Maybe it'll answer this. It'll explain this, and it doesn't. And I was just like, So for me, like I just love stories so much that it's just when a story is so bad, it does bleed in for me for gameplay and stuff like that. Cause I don't feel like why should I care? Why should I fight these people? What is my goal? But so we'll get into more better things of it. And you wanted to complain about it, Keith, but the graphics. So this game is done in the new Unreal Engine 5. They even said at the beginning, we're a small studio. They're very proud of what they did here. And honestly, graphically, this game is really good looking. I really like the graphics of this game.
I love when they make the characters look like the actors.
Yeah.
And they did such a good job because I was IMDbing it because I can't believe Andrew didn't recognize what's her name?
Kirkin.
Daisy's on my notebook. I have all the characters listed. I can't remember names. um, but yeah, she's a famous actress. She's been in a ton of stuff.
She looks familiar. I generally don't know actors and actresses.
Do you know what? I don't think I've actually seen her in anything, but I knew that you had because she was in Firefly.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I really like when they do that, and they did such a good job. And I also felt like everything was you knew what was around you. Like I would walked by like a chest and I saw like the glinting and I knew right away, oh, I missed something. And same with like the, the little purple things that you can shoot. I'm so descriptive, I know. I remember what everything is called. But yeah, I for me, like I just felt like with the environments, I knew where I was going, where I was jumping to. I just felt like it all made sense. And it was also very pretty.
It's surprising that you knew where you were going.
Yeah.
You suck with navigation in games.
Even if the circle wasn't there, I feel like I would have figured it out.
Well, there's one of the very good things. Here you go. Here's a compliment. I got one. One of the really good things they do for traversal, for the most part, there was only maybe a couple of times where I didn't feel like it did this distinctly, was it gave you very small checkpoints at a time to be like, all right, go from here to here on a point you can see, and you're like practically on top of the circle half the time you're walking. So it's almost like a trail in some ways more than it is like individual little points. So it makes it easy to, like Liz had mentioned early, for finding some of those side treasures, because you're like, well, there's a second path there and it's not telling me to go that way. So that's probably something down there, whether it's just a little breakable chest or a big golden chest, it's something. And yeah, it was pretty easy to not feel like you were getting lost on where you needed to be.
I'm sorry, but you reminded me. I have a negative thing to say. The one thing I really did not like about the platforming, this game relies way too much on button prompts. So you can't just like look at the ley line and hit a button and there you go, you're swinging on it. You have to look at the thing and wait for it to say hold X.
Yeah.
And that it does it way too much. You have the ability to move statues, like they'll have a glyph on them, but you have to aim directly at that glyph and wait for it to say
or
hold
you
X.
just shoot, yeah.
Or you'll reload or shoot or something. And so I hated the game relied way too much on button prompts. That was the other thing too.
Oh yeah, you're right. Reload, not shoot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I 100% agree with that. That frustrated me. But I thought it was just me just like not paying attention. Like when you go to a portal and you have to hold X, and I'd go too far and then I go back and I go too far and be like, this is a Liz thing right here.
See, I think this game has a lot of things like buttons and items. I already feel like this game would be way better on PC. If you have Game Pass PC and a good PC, I have a feeling this game's way better on PC. Because the other thing too with combat, this game has, I would say, no auto aim assist. Unless you're using the green magic. Like I said, that has homing bullets. But sorry. I have negative things to say about graphics.
Because like I feel like I've played so many games with auto aim, and not having auto aim, I don't always like select it. And so it's nice having the extra challenge, because now when I play the next game, I might be better at shooting. That's
Yeah.
how I see it.
Two little things that kind of, well, one is nitpicky that I don't give the game, I don't take any points off of this. But one thing with graphics that irritated me, your character has this massive knife on his chest and he never uses it.
You and this knife.
Oh my gosh. Because it is so massive. And there's been numerous times in cutscenes where I'm literally shouting, use your knife, like,
yeah, like when he's being strangled. Yeah.
He's being strangled by a guy and he's like, I can't do anything. And I was just like, you have a giant knife. Like, come on.
You also do magic.
Well, the magic doesn't work on the guy. Like I said, sometimes magic works, sometimes it doesn't.
I also don't think I use melee.
The melee was okay. It staggered enemies, which was okay, which was decent. But the other thing that irritated me with the graphics, though, is this world does not feel real. Like, as I said, there's people with magic and people without magic. So obviously people with magic can fly and activate ledges and bridges and whatnot. But there's a lot of people that don't have magic. And I'm walking around and I'm like, how do people without magic live in this world? Like, how are they able to activate this bridge, this elevator? And not only that, there's like no villages. You know, you're supposed to be in this country called Lucian, but there's no buildings. And every once in a while you'll find 1-2 buildings and it's like, okay, where's the shops? Where are the people? Like there's the world just doesn't feel like a lived-in world.
Well, there was like a little village that you go to, like that I've walked through many times, but you're right, there are no people in it.
And it's like a 2 or 3 building village. It's very small. So that's the one thing that kind of kept pulling me out. The world felt like a video game, like it was just designed to be a playground, which is fine, but it just kind of once again kind of turned me off with the story of like it didn't build up this world that they were so trying so hard to do.
Well, like with I don't know, I'm jumping off of graphics a little bit, I guess, but like with this open world, meeting more characters that would give you more side quests would make it feel more like a lived-in world, even if they're just boring NPCs with a boring storyline, but just something to do somewhere and a reason to do it. More than like, oh yeah, I remember that there was a portal there that I think I can go back to now. Yeah. It just wasn't great. But overall, the graphics were fine. I personally think at times I didn't care for the characters' facial expressions. Again, they were very realistic looking, but I thought it was almost in that like uncanny valley a little bit of like uncomfortable, of overproduced or over animated, and that annoyed me.
They looked good.
I thought they looked good. I just thought it was too overdone.
I disagree, but I mean,
You just love Devin.
No, but even like the Kirkin, I feel like they did such a good job with her.
Yeah.
When she was talking and stuff, like there's no funky teeth, you know.
Well, the only character I kind of had issues with the model was Luna. Her hair just didn't look like it worked with her head. It looked attached. Like that was the only one. But besides that, no, I love the graphics. The environments were super good looking.
I also like that you have like kind of like the first place that you're at, you have like all these like what is it called? The one
You gotta give more description.
No, there's so the first place that you're in where there's like a lot of poverty, you're over the hole.
Oh, yeah, the underbridge.
Everything
slums.
is just kind of like smacked together to try to make things. And then you go to this like elaborate.
Oh my gosh, that was another plot hole that irritated me.
Ramshackle.
Yeah.
Is that the word?
Yeah.
Like ramshackle, yeah.
That was the other thing. The story of you at the beginning of the game, you pickpocket someone and you're like, oh my gosh, this is not enough money. We're not gonna be able to afford food. But then one of your friends comes in and he's injured, and your friend's like, we need to go to like a rich person's house and maybe find some life magic. We don't know what it is, but we're gonna find it. And you know how you get into this mansion? You literally walk like 2 corners and it's a zip line straight into the guy's house. It's like, why were you guys not robbing this guy in the first place? It literally has a zip line right into his house. No guards. Just
I realized that too when I was playing it. I was like, that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, what?
It's not like they shot like a cord into the building. It was already there.
It was already there. The zip line was already there.
That was pretty bad.
I think though that overall, like the graphics are exactly as you explained them. They're good, but the world doesn't feel lived in. So while it looks good, it's just not done well. Yeah. And I think it's the same with the people. I think they look really good. I just don't think it's done well at the same time.
And which I mean, I should probably say this at the beginning, but I'll get more into like the history of this game too a little bit. But as far as the audio goes, I thought the voice acting was good. Liz, I know you always thought Jack was annoying. I didn't think, as far as characters goes, he wasn't that bad. There was a lot of dumb, more writing issues.
No, I don't blame the voice actor at all. I think it was the writers. I think they made him awful.
Yeah, but the voice acting's good. Not a lot of music in this game. It's very quiet.
Sometimes the enemy music wouldn't disappear when the enemies did, and then so it kept happening, and then I'd be like, are the enemies all gone this time? And there's like a floaty person super far away just staring at me, not shooting. So it was hard to tell if the enemies were really gone. So
yeah, the enemy varieties kind of sucked. There was like a couple
keep coming up with more negative things.
I knew someone was going to say that because I do kind of agree with that. Like there just weren't a lot of them.
Like we're all bringing us down.
Big guys, like
I really like this
kind
game.
of bull-looking guys. I don't know. That's what I'm going to call them. But they were on 4 legs. And then everything was just some sort of like it charged at you or it shot you.
Yeah.
And they all looked kind of the samey gray figure. Just very obscure, nothing notable about them other than maybe a shield color. The bosses were somewhat cool, but none of them really felt very boss-like, except for the one that Liz was talking about, which was very cliche boss.
The other ones were kind of bullet spongy.
At best, but you played on a higher difficulty. On the normal difficulty, if I had my little power-up, it could take off 30% of their damage or their health in one shot of that. And so it was like, I think I might have died to a boss 2 or 3 times.
Achievements though, I would recommend this for achievement hunters. It's not too bad. Like I said, it's like a 16-hour game. Do reveal the achievements. The first like 15 are obviously just complete this chapter. So there's no spoilers, but there are 2 hidden achievements near the bottom that are missable. One of them is to find a bird, which there's a cutscene where the bird appears. So that's when you know you can find the bird. So that's a missable achievement. And then there's another missable achievement where you're doing, I think, mission 4. You're supposed to stop and go back to home base, and that's an achievement. I don't know why only on mission 4. It's kind of weird. But yeah, there are like 2 missable achievements. So look those up. But overall, the game's not very hard. And it's, you can change the difficulties at any time. So I recommend playing on the hardest difficulty. If it is just way too hard and you don't want to deal with it, you can change the difficulty, but it won't give you obviously the achievement for beating the game on that difficulty. But it's pretty easy though. Like I said, I only died a couple times main story wise.
Looking at our scores, Andrew, you're at 285 out of 1,000.
I'm about to get a bunch. Like a lot of them come at the end.
Yeah, with 22 out of 47. And Keith and I both have a score of 90 with 8 achievements. But I think at least one of our achievements differ. But yeah.
Wait, to answer your question, Curtis, on the accessibility, I don't think there is any options for it.
It's colorblind.
Well, there's that. But as far as gameplay, I don't think there's anything. But the difficulty is, I think, a shift of enough, I would say, that if you need to adjust for that, the moving down the difficulty will do.
And so I wanted to go a little bit of a history with this game. So this is the thing that's kind of unfortunate. Like this game is really nice looking, but this game was massively bloated. So as I kind of said at the beginning of this episode, this studio is just about dead. They laid off, I think, over half of their staff. So this is an EA original. So this studio came up with this idea in this game, and EA threw an exorbitant amount of money at them. I think it was like $200 million to make this game. Crazy amount of money. And lo and behold, it didn't make that $200 million. So the studio had to end up like laying off over half their staff, which is really unfortunate. Because I think, and that's the thing where like the things we're complaining about, this is their first IP. This is a brand new studio, and this is their first IP. And I think a lot of this stuff is just their new studio. Like poor writing, yeah, I gotta see that, but the gameplay is good. And obviously the money clearly went to the graphics and a lot of like the actual like mechanics of this game, clearly not the writing. But I think it's just unfortunate. Like I think if they had a sequel, this game could be way better. But a quick update though, if you do really like this game, highly recommend you buy it right now. So EA has actually for once done a nice thing. EA Studios is generally rated one of the worst companies in the world, but EA actually is no longer taking money from this game. So if you buy anything from this game, 100% of those funds go straight to that studio. And they said they're doing this like indefinitely. So I think EA just kind of cut their losses and said, whatever, like we'll take the hit. And so now all the money's just going straight to Ascendant Studio. So if you do want to support the studio, buy this game, buy into the DLC because it's going straight to the developers.
It's nice.
But yeah, let's get into our final thoughts here. I feel bad. I know I was talking about this game a lot. This game is fun, okay? But if you're someone like me who really likes the story, this is not the game. And it's just unfortunate because it did end up frustrating me and bleeding into the other aspects of this game. I did have fun with the combat. It could be better, but I didn't hate my time. I've almost beaten this game. I've put like 16 hours in it, and I like it. Excuse me. So it is a fun game. I do recommend you check it out. I mean, the story is almost so bad. It's kind of like a sci-fi original film where it's kind of fun to laugh at and be like, who wrote this? But yeah, I think I've already said everything I need to say. For me, this is a solid 70 game. It's definitely worth your time on Game Pass. I actually might pick up some of the DLC is just like improved gear you can get. But the fact that EA's given the money to developers, like I would like a sequel to this game. Like this isn't something like I wouldn't want the studio to go under for it. It's not that bad of a game. I had fun with it. But yeah, check it out. As much as I dogged on it.
Yeah. Yeah, we just spent the better part of an hour I guess just kind of dunking on this game. But it Immortals of Avium. Yeah, Avium. It's definitely one of those weird, it's all your stereotypical fantasy, but it's its own world and its own storylines, and none of it makes sense, and they don't give you nearly enough. Like Andrew always talks about having some sort of a glossary. It has a collection of things that you find in the game, and that's it. It's not like, hey, this is this type of enemy you're fighting. This is this type. I think it marks them because I remember seeing little pop-ups. I don't need to bring up a new topic, but all that to say, I don't think there's really much of any information to pull from. So you're just pieced together of whatever terrible storyline they give you to do it, and none of that's very good, which is fine because the gameplay can be fun, but it's nothing special. So I don't know who I would recommend this game to, but if someone was like, "Hey, I want to check this game out," I would have thoughts for them, but I wouldn't tell them not to do it. I don't have any reason not to do it. I just have a lot of reasons why I didn't care, and I really would have stopped earlier, but I don't know. I guess I was just waiting for something more to happen, and it never did. I like your 70. I'm gonna steal your 70.
Was this a game or a pass for you?
Oh, it's a game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask
guess.
that because I was kind of confused.
Yeah, I think game. Like that's my
Game-ish.
answer, but I don't really know why.
I'm going to give it an 85. What? Why is that funny?
It is just funny how much me and Keith dogged on this game, and you were like, I love this game. No, this is why I love this podcast.
But you know what?
Personalities are very different.
I thought it was going to be higher. Like 85 seems low, but when you told me what happens later on in the story,
this is why I didn't.
and
I was
no,
trying so
because
hard not to tell you.
But you know what? I Google endings of games and stuff, and it's not the one incident that you're thinking. I'm talking about how like dumb it gets. Like it's like that. I think that 90+% of what's wrong with this game is the writing. It's the story. It's the the characters not being fully developed. Because I do think like it's just so fun. The combat, I love the graphics, voice acting. There's so much that I like about it, but it really does. I mean, I think it's funny that the one thing that irritated me the most is just Jack. And for you guys, it's everything else. But looking at Metacritic for Series X, it's 76 and 5.3. And honestly, like so many of the reviews talk about how awful the story is. Like that's like the big thing. And so I think everybody kind of agrees with that. Like it's not great.
What were the Metacritic scores? I didn't hear you.
Oh, it's an average of 76 for critics and 5.3 for users.
Oh. Was our fourth co-host there?
I did not see him.
I was gonna say, I bet he gave this a big old fat 0. Watching gave this game.
I said turd at the beginning though, so it's like he's here with us.
Sure.
All right. I guess we'll wrap it up here. We'll our poor listeners this episode. So thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you specifically to our Patreon members. Thank you, PTS Daddy. Thank you, Nerd Talk Plus, Squid Kill, Thomas, thank you so much for supporting us. We do have a Patreon set up. We're trying to get more episodes on there. We are also trying to get some free stuff on there. We are just trying to get ahead right now. We have a lot on our plate. Oh, and also I want to apologize that we haven't gotten to any listener requests. This past next couple months or so, we're very tight scheduled, trying to pick games that are work for our schedule and the games that we also really want to play. So we will get back to the listener requests because we have been getting a good amount of them. If you want to give us listener requests, you can go to our link tree or GamePassGrabBag.com. Go to Spotify. You can write comments in the episodes. Tell us what you think, games you want us to visit. We'll eventually get around to them. Try to get some people on to help us catch up. But I've been your Hardcore Gamer Stage. You can find me on Xbox Live at Firebird01952. Oh, and check out our YouTube channel. I've been posting our live recordings on there. So there's some stuff I edit out on the audio episodes. So you can get the whole unedited on the videos on YouTube. Get us to 100 subscribers. We're close. Go, Keith.
I've been Keith. Andrew's back on his CVS receipt game, and so I don't really have anything more to say. I'm just gonna say goodnight.
I'm Liz Noob, Gamertag, comment on Deed, and I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Liz Noob. Noob is EW.
How are your long arms doing, Liz? Anyway, love you all. We'll see you again next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Daisy, do you want to say bye? You want to say hi, Keith?